and welcome to the second live streaming and first episode of a new series. So this one will be about micro frontends. Uh, so let's start by seeing what is a micro frontend. So let's imagine this is your page in your browser, and you're in a new normal application. The entire page of the browser is composed by one single framework or vanilla JavaScript of your choice. So this could simply be a React application. But in the world of micro frontends, you can go a little bit more the way that you like it. So for example, say this is the header, and the header it's a React application, but this is the body, and this could easily be a Vue application. This is say an extreme case. Usually it is the same framework multiple times, so each team can work on a different part of the app without conflicting to each other. So when team A makes changes to the header, they can release the header even if team B that is working on the body of the app has some changes that at the moment cannot be released. An example of reasons that cannot be released, it's the backend, it's not ready yet, or there is bugs, or QA didn't finish. I mean, this is a case in a small company. In a bigger company, you have multiple environments, and usually you are always ready to release. But okay, let's see also one second last case. So let's say you have a big monolith app that it's in a old version of React. Let's say this is um, React 14, and you want to okay, actually let's go for a better case. Uh, this is in Backbone, so if you don't know Backbone, you're you're lucky. So this is a very old framework, and let's say your company wants to start moving away from Backbone. So you can start from something very easy, that it could be just a footer. So you have your Backbone app, but now you have a footer that it's in React. So you will move one piece at a time until your entire app it's in the framework of your choice. Okay, now that we have an idea of what we want to accomplish, we need to see how we can accomplish it. So what we are going to create in this live stream, it's a system that allows for apps to run concurrently. And let's start with the simplest case. And that case, it's you are on the root page. So this is your root page, and this page it's in React 14, and you have a second page, and this one could just be say the login page, and this page it's in React 19 that is being released quite recently. So this is the easiest use case, and it's the case where the framework changes based on the page. Then in the future episodes we go a little bit more complex scenarios, but let's start with what is simple. So as we can see, because this is based on what page you are, we can start by finding that. So I already did some research, but we can do it again. So the idea is we want a URL matcher. So these are libraries that will match these are libraries that will, given an input of an URL, will tell you what is matching. So we can see here this example is the easiest one: slash matches homepage, slash courses, slash the list of the courses, and slash course slash ID is the detail. And here we can see we have a named parameter. So now we already can use this library. It's just the first result. There is more libraries, but ready to go through them, and they usually have like less than 10 weekly downloads, while this one has 9,000, so it's clearly the most popular one. So let's go on and let's create our project. So in the last episode, in the last stream, I didn't create a repository, but this time I will go with a full flow. So for the name, I was actually thinking to call it MICman, where MIC stands for micro frontends and man manager, and it is short enough, it's 6 letters. So we can use this one. Okay, so let's create a nice Vita app. So it doesn't need to be React, it needs to be vanilla, and we can call it MICman. Okay, this is done. And we can add Git. Okay, we have everything here. Let's just double install yarn. So it's okay. And finally, yeah, that always takes some time. And we are using PNP, so let's hope it's going to work, because last time it didn't, but it was the old WebStorm. So now I have WebStorm 2024, and hopefully the horrible things that happened the last time will not happen again. So let's add everything. This is just the initialization commit. Actually, this is redundant, just initialization. Okay, I don't have access. For some reason, it loves losing it. Oh, I didn't add the remote, so I'm pushing to nothing. Okay. Now that this is done, we can move on and start writing some code. So how do we? Yes, it is going to micromanage your front end. It's going to be looking at everything, legal thing you do, and give horrible feedback about it. Okay, so let's remove everything, because it's a library, and let's start by a simple index file, then we can move to something more interesting. So okay, so the way it works is it needs to have a callback function for your micro frontend to say that you want to register a root. So let's start one by one, then we can group them. Plural. So roots, it's a record. So for who is not familiar with TypeScript, a record it's essentially this. So it's an object, it's a map, where the first parameter of record is the type of the key. So we're going to use a string, and the second parameter we are going to use a function. So let's just write the function, then we will go more deep later on. So why it's a function? So the idea is on the micro manager, notice that you have on the micro manager, notice that this root it's matching. It will call your function so you can render something. It's a function because it's very generic, because if we're not going to decide that you are forced to use React, you're forced to use Vue or anything. So in this way, the function is generic enough, it's not a component, so it doesn't match, it doesn't, okay. Let's just say it's not forcing you to do anything. Okay. God, I hate global variables, but we will move to it later on. Okay, let's just add these roots. And we will need better way to add the roots because this is very limited. So why it's limited? It's because there needs to be an order. And the idea of the micro frontend is they could load in your page in any random order based on network conditions. So the order is not guaranteed. So in the future, we will need also to guarantee it. But for now, we go for the easy way, that it's just we add them in the random order we find it. It's not deterministic, but for the time being, it's fine. So let's also say what happens if you have two of them. Well, it will be overridden. And this is also the bad thing of non-deterministic. Another thing we can do is throw if already has it. There's obviously ways to manage this, so you can always decide that some micro frontends can override other micro frontends for some conditions. So you can also, in the future, this function can become an object where you can express the priority of each frontend, so micro frontend. So some of them can have higher priority and just do their work. Okay, first step is registering the roots, and second step of after all the micro frontends are loaded is to start. Now, again, also this one, it's just a simple example for now, because this micro manager should start itself after all of them are loaded. So it needs to know by itself they are all loaded, because it's a dynamic thing, and the micro frontend manager should know how many micro frontends has to load. Okay, so let's add the library that we saw a moment ago. Here is the library. This is a terrible thing that it never lets me select just the name of the library. I don't want to use npm. Okay, let's just add it. So what is -e? -e means exact, and this is something I always do, and it's avoiding using always the latest version, because stuff will stop working randomly when you less expect it after they decided to update their library. So better safe than sorry, and nice from it to copy without me clicking copy. No autocomplete yet? Oh, well, it's fine. Okay. So, wrong window. Okay, what we need is the grade matcher. So it's the default export. And here we can just create matcher with the global roots. Hopefully this is able to auto cast to object, but if it doesn't, we're going to see it very soon. Okay, so final thing is to check which one is the current root. So matcher dot. God, I really hope exists a type. Let's see if we can have some types. Yes, we can. Did you get the types? No, it's still any. Oh, TypeScript is starting. TypeScript should be started now. No? Okay, anyway, let's move on. Here we create a matcher and we use it by just calling it. So it returns a function, matcher, location from the DOM.href, that is the current page, and this is the root at the moment of the initialization. So this, I suppose, could be none. Well, does it say it? But we're going to discover it. Okay. And let's just do current root dot. We have the value, that is the function. And let's, oh, did you got it? No, I didn't. And let's pass the params so it knows what it's rendering. Okay, here we have it. It's quite simple. And now what is left to do is start it. And let's do that. Okay, let's have a second project. Okay. And let's create a simple app. First, let's check the version. Okay. Just triple checking always that the environment is what I expected, and I want to have node 18 always. And yarn is always version 4. That doesn't work without node 18. Should have been faster because I'm using it in the other tab. Oh, it's 20.3. It released a new version overnight. That's nice. Okay, yarn create. This time we use React. We call it simple React app. and we can run the 3 commands. This will start the server. Actually, my bad. Let's also open it in a second window. So live coding, simple React app. Okay, now that I'm thinking it through a little bit better, let's just copy this in the other project. And we will expose it to the window, and then we will use it from the app. Then we will, in the second moment, we will have proper imports. But for now, okay, now it's one single micro front end, so we can just roll with it. So how we're going to make this work? So for the moment, we can create a root in a non-visible element. So and we will return where to render the app using a portal. Okay, this most likely sounds very weird, but it should work. So let's have this render into nothingness, and we do window dot yep, it's missing. It's nice that it started, but it's missing the libraries that I need. So going again. Okay, because we're living in a single front end, let's start without using the window. So everything sounds a little bit better. Okay. Register roots and start. So first we register the roots slash, or easier, star, so we never fail. It's equal to our simple function that gets the params. Actually, this we can start actually typing it. Root callback, it's a function that accepts params. That its type of object. And for now it returns void. Then we will think about what returns it most likely needs to return. And it most likely needs to return an unmount function. And this is similar to the use effect, or yeah, it's similar to use effect. I will explain why the unmount later, but for now, let's leave it like this. So when this is mounted, when this root is mounted, for now, let's just console log mounted. Now, this is to show the asynchronous of this started. Starting. And this is started. So what we expect to see is we register the roots, nothing happens. Then we see starting, then it starts. Then this should match, we see mounted, and this, then we see started. So let's do yarn dev, and let's see if this is what we see. It will start on localhost 5173. Okay, starting, started, no matching. Okay, seems it doesn't like maps. Let's just go for a record then. Okay, so in case of a simple record, this is in instead of us, or fancier object has own property, and this is root. This instead of set, it's global.root equal callback. Also, this one has a fancier way that it's by using reflect, but we don't need it. It's overly fancy. Okay, now we see it works. So now we know that JavaScript feather doesn't like the mounted, but we see it gets cold. So question is, how do we render it? And that is because we need to change things around now. So we saw here before this was document get element by ID root. So let's pass more information to our object or callback. So where to mount it? So this one is an HTML element, and this one will be document.get element by ID root. Now, obviously, this is not ideal, getting it every single time, but let's leave it for now, or easier. And also, this can be configurable. So now it's the micromanager that decides where is the root. And this, we will be able to use it more often. So this is the root callback, but later on for things that go inside, for example, let's call it a layout callback, that it's a point in the layout where you are going to be rendered. We can still use the same things and pass parent, HTML element, and props instead of params. So this is get really generalized, and wind just scared me the hell out of me. Okay, so in React, how can we mount this? So this one, it should be possible by using a portal. No, wait, it's React mount. God, I don't use it from so long. Maybe it's in React DOM. Okay, just need a refresher. Yes, you are very useful, always redirecting me to the wrong point. So this one lets me render the other children, but I want to do the rest. Perfect. Why you're not here? Oh, it's in React Doom. Okay, okay. Okay, now the question is why React Doom is not here? Cannot resolve the action. You know what? I'm sure React Doom is working, but I'm also sure that PNP is not. Got this config set, yes. So this disables PNP. So as you have may notice before, this not modules, it's empty. So that is because PNP does a lot of linking and they put it inside this PNP.js file. So I feel the browser, the IDE, even the 2024 version, doesn't seem to be smart enough. And that's very disappointing. Hopefully now it will work. Because now it exists. So be a little smart and show me the stuff. But anyway, let's ignore it and let's create this portal. So as we see, the first value is what we want to portal. So we want to portal the app. The create root is not needed anymore. The second thing we want to portal is where. So this is the parent, and now it will portal the app into the element that it's passing. Now obviously this slightly disrupts the React cycle because it gets mounted and unmounted all the time. So there is better ways to do it. Create portal is not a function. Amazing. It's not a function because create portal is not under client. It's under Doom. But now we can clearly see that the WebStorm has finally started working. Okay. It should be working. Literally, it is. We have the DVD root, but we don't have anything inside of it. Was 100% sure this shoe would be able to work. My bad, it's actually the opposite. Okay, we have to do the Let's get back this piece of code. Okay, as we said, this needs to be rendered essentially nowhere. And here, this portal needs to be here. So here we have create portal. Now we put a question mark because we don't have access to it like this. So what we need to do is make this accessible. So when we receive the parent where to mount it, we need to tell to our app that now it needs to render something somewhere. So let's create our app that will have a value that can change. Now this is going to get a little bit complex, so try to follow me. I'm going to show you some new interesting selector, and this is essentially valid for React. So here we have parent. So where to mount it, or let's say where to mount equal x, and what to mount is also part of x, because we want them in the same place. Yeah, so why I can't do is create root plus render directly, because that will render every single time the new app. So technically, yes, I could put this entire thing here, but then you will have to unmount the entire app. So what I want to do is having the app live by itself and the roots live by themselves separately. So when these things, you get a new information, it will tell to the app itself, hey, it's time to render this. So I will go back to the drawing board, because this makes more sense with a drawing board. So the idea is you have the React app always living, but because it's in a separated div that is not mounted in the page, it's living outside. So this is the page, and this is the app. Now in the page we have the root node, and this one is controlled by React router. Now this is React app A, and this is React app B. So if every time I mount the entire app into here, when I unmount it, all its life cycle are going to end. And this, for a simple app, is not the worst thing in the world, but for a complex app where you have providers, Redux, and everything, it's better to keep the providers living by themselves, and then what is inside gets portal around. So inside of React app you have the providers, but what I'm portaling, it's inside of it. So this one, it's what it's portaled instead of this one. Okay, so how can we do this? How can we obtain, what is this X? Well, this one, it's a hook that it's a very funny one. It's called use sync external store. So this one is one of the non-common hooks. So we have a subscribe and we have a get snapshot. Also we have a get server snapshot, but we are going to ignore that. The two things we are interested are these two: subscribe, snapshot. So what these two do? When so using external storage, we're going to first call subscribe, and with this one, when is going to essentially start listening to changes, essentially like in your Redux store. You have redux.subscribe. You subscribe to changes to the store. Get snapshot, it's essentially identical to get store of Redux. It gives you the current value. So when you first run this, it subscribes and immediately gets the current value, and it returns the current value. That is going to be this. Now, why we need to subscribe? We need to subscribe because here we need to fire. So in this moment, we're going to fire for a change, and this one that listens to the change will ask once it's the callback is called for the new value, and it will render this again. So we can do this with what is called a simple pub sub, a publisher subscriber. So I'm going to create, then we're going to move everything to new files later, but let's start easy. So this is a simple pub sub of type T. And yes, normally pub subs returns the value when in your listen, but in our case they don't, because using external store doesn't. So let's start with the first method, public subscribe. So this is the callback. It returns an unsubscribe. So horrible typing. Let me just double check. Yes, onStore change, and it returns void. And also it double returns void. Anyway, okay. So here we have a private list of listeners. Actually, let's keep things consistent. This is subscribers. And again, this subscriber is the callback. God, I got it wrong. Wait, this one returns void, but this one returns a function for unsubscribing. Hopefully I got it correctly, because this is very unreadable. Yes, now I got it correctly. Okay, so let's add the type of subscriber, that it's a simple function that returns void, because I'm very tired of writing this everywhere. And what we do is simply we put it in the list. Simple as that. And then we return a function to remove it. And this will find the ID index of callback. And if it's different than -1, we splice it. So what is splice? Splice is remove X element in that position. So position is index, number of element, remove 1. So this removes the subscriber. Now we have subscribe done. Now we need to choose two new methods. One is set value. So value is type of T. And this one just well, our pub sub needs to constructor. Okay. Fortunately, our pub sub needs to be born with a value. And why is that? It's because this one will call it before there is a chance to. It needs to always have it. Okay. So this dot value equal value. Okay. Horrible naming from my side. This should be called new value. So we avoid ghosting. And now we notify all the subscribers. This.subscribers.forEach, and we call it. Then we notify them. Now it's missing only the get value. How do you call it? Get snapshot. I'm not going to use that name. It just returns the. Okay, our pub sub is done. So let's start with it. Now the name. God, the naming variables, it's always so annoying. Obviously I cannot call it pub sub. Root context. Let's call it that. New pub sub. And element is null at the beginning, and the second value it's what to render. This is where and this is what. So I will just call it root and it's null. So root context dot subscribe root context dot get value. Perfect, doesn't complain at all. And here we get the element and we get the root. Now if root and element, we can return our portal. So we create a portal to the first part, it's where, so it's the element, and the second part is the what, that is the root. They should return it as React, as JS6. Okay. Other case returns null. And now here we can put a router. And here we can update our value in the root context. So the new value is the element is the parent, yes, and the root in our case is just up. Yes, typings. It's time for some typings that we didn't type correctly. Element null or root is null. And other case, attribute set. Element is such an HTML element. And what exactly are you? A JS6 element. Interesting, you don't like it. What you mean is, oh, I flipped them. Yeah, that's not true, it's the final. Okay. Okay, time to see some errors. Error number 1, they should not be here. Perfect, it was only one. So let's see if it's working. Interesting enough, it's not. But we have some errors. Cannot read properties of undefined reading value. So this is undefined. Right, is not binding to itself. Okay, this is annoying as hell, but okay. Public subscribe is equal to this. Public get value is equal to this. And public set value is equal to this. So what did I do? I changed it to arrow functions because they maintain their value. And now it's working. So this is our app. And yes, I don't have the React Dev tools. I should install them. But yeah, now the app is mounted and unmounted at the same time. I mean, it's mounted, then the root of the first React app it's mounted in place X, and part of the app that we want to render it's good. Now I have also the tools because we should be able actually to see it. God, I just installed it and you're not appearing yet. Where this one says it is here. Okay, let's try the other way. Open and close. That's weird. This is the first time okay, it just was lazy. Yeah, it sees only the router here. But if we add more stuff to our main, so we put something else around the router, this div should kind of appear in a weird way in the dev tools. Also, it will not be visible. So here I can say hello. I can say something also later, and it will not appear in the page. And they should appear in the components as external. Okay, this is interesting. So I was expecting the React Dev tools to see the invisible root, but it is not. So anyway, here you can see that in our page, everything that is around the router is not here. So this is the first essentially proof of concept that makes possible for us to do this. Now this one, obviously, it's horrible. So also this one can be changed to map routes that gets a list of routes, and it makes it a little bit nicer, so we can always go for a react component type. Should be called like this. It's most likely not understanding what I want to do, but it's fine. And it returns a record of string, and we can always make it nicer, but there's no need now. So TDI, we return object dot entries of the roots. So we obtain the list of roots again, we map it, and we get the root, we get the component, uppercase, that's important, and this becomes a new function because that's what we want, and this is the parent, think there is no need to type this record here. It should be able to obtain it automatically. Hopefully, actually, let's not trust it. I'm being too trustworthy on TypeScript in these cases. And this one can just move here. Nice generic. We have parent, and here we have component. Yes. And now we wrap the entire thing in from entries. That does the exact opposite of what I just did. Interesting. Why you are complaining? Because this should be correct. Correct. What I'm missing here is to return the key. I totally forgot it. Okay. God, this looks so horrible. I need to install a linter. So now I can do this. Map roots. And now this is finally readable. Star is up. But now that we have this and it's working, we can move to have two apps. So we don't really, I think, need to have two projects for this test. So we can try with one single project. So let's just split them into directories for the moment. And then we can work on something better. So this is app 1, and this one is app 2. Yes, they are running the same React, but for the moment, this is just an example. And later we can actually make a view app or anything like that. So let's start with moving the utils. So here we have the pub sub. Let's refactor it by extracting it in a new file. Okay, search utils, pub sub.ts, together with its own type. Okay, this is one. Okay, we in app 1, let's have a simple index.tsx. And let's have a router. This one also, it's something that needs to be in the utils. So refactor, move, you go to the utils, router.tsx, together with the context. Now, this context would be better if it's recreated every single time. So instead of exporting the router, let's export a create router, because we want to have the context separated between the two of them. So here we have the context, here we have the router, and we just return both of them. Now I can initialize it as many times as I want, and each one of them is separated. So we can go back to here and just move the rest of this. Also, last one. The map routes is the last utility functions that we need. What do you mean there is nothing? Excuse me? There's not there's no conflicts. What are you talking about? Ah, I get it, I get it, I get it, I get it. Yes, it says should be at tier 6. It's missing the context. So this one needs the roots, but also needs the context. That is of type what type it is. Root context is a pub sub that contains these. Export type root context. Okay, your type of root context. Okay, we got map roots. Now we are done. Now there is literally nothing left. So this one can go. Let's just move everything. This one can go on the first one. So let's move up inside. Let's remove this index CSS from here. You need only register roots because you're not the one that starts it. You need all the utils. And map roots now needs 2 arguments. And this one needs the context. So up a context. Up 1 root context is equal to create. It's not the context, it's everything. So it's root context and router. Why you cannot resolve the name map roots? It's here. Oh, because TS6. Okay. And this one goes here. Done. Up A is done. He has his own router. Now let's just have a page for it. So you are up A. Yes, they look very identical. And this is up B. So let's make them less identical. So in this app, I'm just going to change this to hello, I'm app B. Actually, let's change this that so we can still have the count. No, it will be unmounted and you will lose it, but it would be interesting to move it more up so we can show that the context it's able to survive. We will do that later. For now, let's go back to the index, to the main. So this is gone because we move it there. Let's skip the main CSS. Let's skip the start. And let's import the 2 apps. Import app 1 and import app 2. Now, obviously you can imagine this as being not in one single repository, but this can literally be a network call that we load app1. And this will work as long as this register roots is not imported like this, but it's exposed to the window. So that's also something we can do later. But let's see. Yes, assets. It needs to go up. Now, nothing will load because this root is not matched by any of those. So let's revisit which roots are we handling. App A and app B that are again the wrong name, but here we should see app A, but we don't. Now seriously, we should see app A. Okay, let's just check. So here we have the global roots. Here we have the current root. I have a feeling. Yeah, I do have a feeling. I just want to double check it. Okay. Temp1 location dot href. Yes, as expected, doesn't work. And this is because this contains the word HTTP. So what we have inside location that we can actually use? It's path name. Location dot path name. Okay, I'm app A and I'm app B. Good, we can move across them, but we are reloading the page. Now, would not be great if we can avoid reloading the page. Well, let's do that. So we need a function that makes possible to change root. Let's call it navigate. New root, it's a string. So there we started a matcher. And now we have a current root. Here we have the root. So let's make this a little bit more global. So, you know what? This can be actually funnier if we make it more correct. And more correct means this lives in the window. Not new URL, but new path name. Okay, so history dot push state. Null, null. Let's construct a new URL. So this should be new, no, URL dot created. It's none of this. Parse URL? No. Okay, let's just do new rel. Location. Oh God. Okay, location. So I want the origin, and that's all. Okay, you know what? This is easy. Location dot location dot origin plus a slash plus new path name. Excuse me? Oh. Okay, this needs to be a string. Okay, we push the state. Now let's see if we have a new root. So again, this is matcher, but instead of location.path name, it's just new path name. And if we have it, we set it, but we will be mounting two things on the same place. So let's have on unmount. This one is null. So if we have it, we call it. Okay, so let's revisit the code because it got more complicated. So what is this on mount? This is a support variable that will tell us what to call when we are unmounting. So honestly, this should go here. So here we call the new function, and the idea is this function now doesn't return void, it returns on unmount. And what is this on unmount? This is just a callback, exactly like the one in use effect. So you have your root callback. I call you to mount you, but then what you return me, I can use to unmount you. And here, by giving this window to navigate, that now we're going to put in the globals because it's clearly going crazy. I mean, TypeScript is going crazy. So global.d.ts. So anyway, we were saying now that you call navigate, so you can call window.navigate dot up a, incorrect, slash up a. Yeah, let's remove this slash here. It would navigate to up a, and if you call this, it would navigate to up b. So in up a and up b, we can move the button to go from each other. And here we see we use history push state. This will change the URL on top of the browser. And this does just that, it just push it in the history. And we check with the matcher if there is a new root, we unmount the old one if there is one to unmount, and we set the new root. Now, one last thing, it's after we unmount, we set it to null because there is nothing to unmount anymore. Also, let's put the correct type here. And finally, let's put a correct type for window.navigate. So here we can extend the window. I don't fully remember how. So extend window object TypeScript. it's just this code. It's very simple, but I always forget it. So here declare global says this is going to be globally available in the entire project, and by saying this is the window interface, that it's the window object, and now here I can put the new things I want in it. So new path name is a string and it returns void. So now that I update this one gets it, see? It gets the correct type. But also it means that this one gets it. Why are you complaining about React logo? Oh well. Anyway, second button. Button on click. This one window.navigate. You are app 1, so let's go to app 2. And go to app 2. And let's put the same thing in the other one. This one goes to app 1. Okay, let's go back. Okay, we are in app 2. It changed this, but nothing really changed here. And this is because we didn't unmount. So let's put the part where we unmount. So here we can already see this one is saying something is missing. So let's add what is missing. Here it's missing a return. When you get unmounted, you set the context to null. Okay, go to app 2. Okay, it updates, but the other doesn't. Very annoying, it should call it. Let's go back and do some let's see what new route we get here. Wow, we got a new route. But we're calling current route here. So we were calling the old one. Well, it happens. Okay, I'm up A. I'm up 2. Perfect. We can flip around, but look here, if I increase the count and I go back, it's back to 0, and this is because the component got unmounted. We can solve this by moving the context up to where it cannot be lost. Example of that will be here in the index. So see, let's create a simple counter context. Const counter context equal react.create context. Right. It doesn't like default imports. Anyway, create context. Our value is more complicated than that. It's null for now. Now const counter context provider counter, and this component is going to have all the properties for it. So this one is going to have a state that we import from here. Oh no, it's gone. Count set count. We are going to have a children. So you are now of type functional component with children. React FC with children. How is called? With props with children. Here it is. So we can put it here. Counter context provider. And is going to create a, here is the context. Here is counter.context.provider. These are the children. So we are wrapping the children in the provider, and here we are setting the value of it. So this value, can I remove the default value? It's very useless in this case. No, I can't. So yeah, for our case, it's count set count. Yes, it's not. That's what I hate of it. It is null or let's just write null. Maybe this is smart enough to put it. I hate these types as much, especially when they're so complicated. Okay, now this counter context, we can also move it to its own utility function because this is going to be used by both of them. So let's move it. Wrong shortcut. I need to start remembering these shortcuts. It was without shift. Tills counter context. Why you always find conflicts? It's missing this. Okay, perfect. We have our counter context provider. Oh, this is not true. But it is type root callback. Why you are? Ah, okay. Okay, let's move back to the app. Now here is missing count set count, but we're going to obtain from the context. So here we have the get use context const export const use counter context, and this one is going to first obtain the context using use context. Now for use context, you need to pass the counter context itself. Yes, this is need a consumer, and then we can check if context is not null. Actually, either. Let's just return it. And now we can use it here in the app itself. Use counter context. Bad idea. If it's null, let's just more return a mock. This case should not exist. Or is it? Throw a new error. Cannot use a context without a provider. Okay, now you should be able to always return me the value. Okay, count set count. Now we have it. And this is only in app 1. So now if I reload the page and I go to app 1, I should click in the Vita logo. Where do I have to? Oh no, in the button. Okay, I increase the count, go to app 2, increase the count. In app A, we can see the count remained. This is because now the count is outside of it, but in app 2, it lost it. And we can actually see it in our components. Here, it's not smart enough. Interesting. I was actually expecting it to let me choose between the two apps. Anyway, this is the currently mounted app. And here we can actually see the context provider even if it's not mounted. And here it is with its value of 8. And when I go to app 1, it is still here. I mean, when I go to app 2, it is still here with its own 8. And now I can do the same exact thing with the other app. Yeah, we can remove use state. Now I should see something more complex. Should see both of the providers. You're totally right. Counter context provider. It's missing, so it's true. Okay, so we were saying we should see both of them. And here they are. Let's bring this one to 10. Let's bring this one to 5. And in this context provider, the value is 5. And in this context provider, the value is 10. And only of these two has actually an app underneath. And this one is app A, but this one is nowhere. So now these two apps that are not fully separated in two repositories are running together. But in the next one, we move them to different repositories. We're going to move Mickman entirely to the window. Actually, we can do that literally now. We already have it. Window.start. This one is just void. And the other one is register roots. This one also is void. So, but we need a root callback. It will very be nicer to be able to not have this one here, but fortunately that's not going to happen, because if global.dit is going to import the other file, it usually conflict. Okay, now they are technically all in the window, so we can refactor our code a little bit more and say window.start. This one we just imported, so it will run. And on here in the index, this one is going to be window.registerRoots. And this one too. So now nothing is literally directly depending on Mickman. They are all using the window, and it's still working. And this means that this one is essentially our main app. We just need to imagine these imports as something more asynchronous. So to get even closer to the real feedback, we can actually do import with the brackets. So this one will be this. So let's imagine this is our loop. So it's an async function, and we are going to wrap it like this. And the reason why we wrap it in brackets is so we can put this second pair of brackets that will auto call the function. So here we can await a promise dot whole. So what does this does? This means run all of them at the same time. So the two promises are import app1 and import app2. And when these are done, start the app. This is now closer to a real world scenario where essentially our Mickman it's importing the app. The next step for real world scenario it's instead of using import to import the JavaScript file, we inject the JavaScript file in the window. But when you inject a file, you don't have a promise. So that will be for the next stream to solve. But hey, it's working. And if we see the network, we should be able to see that they are now separated. So let's reload the page. Should be smart enough to show me multiple CSS JavaScript files. I don't know why I said the word, it's just CSS, but let's go for JavaScript. Suppose this, okay, one chunk it's one app, the other chunk it's the other app. I don't really have a way to know which is which. So I will need to look into naming, because in Webpack you can name this, but in Vite I don't know how you can name imports so they have a specific chunk name. But it works, so now it's synchronous. And essentially this is all for now. You can navigate between apps. They are living in the same window. They are different apps because they're both mounted with React DOM create root that essentially makes it an app. If I wanted here, I could have React 16, for example, and there would be not only two different apps, but two different frameworks, or at least different version of the same framework. And yeah, this is all for today, and next time we can go back to the other topic, unless majority of people finds this one more interesting. So I'm happy for once my eye didn't crush terribly like the last time, and yeah, and have a good day.